So today's session is about DSC security, about delegating access to DSC, the LCM, and about how we can secure our DSC environments generally. My name is Ryan Bartram. I have a blog over at dfti.ch. It stands for Don't Forget to Automate It. And Twitter handles there. Go over the agenda for today. I want to talk to you generally about the issues surrounding DSC and its security. It's a really powerful tool. And by default, it runs, or by default, you can't do it any other way, it runs under system. So if you do something bad with it, it's gonna hurt you. And then I don't want to, hello? Yeah. I don't want to waste too much time talking about it because I know you guys want to see some stuff, so I'm going to jump straight into the demos afterwards. So let's look at the problems that we're facing today. So there's the credential problem, which is when you need to pass credentials in order to do something. Say you're creating an account in Active Directory, you are installing a role on a machine, you want to run it under a credential. If you don't do anything else, these credentials are going to be saved in plain text in your mod file. This is obviously not a good idea. So I can do something like this. I can say get content localhost.mov, and I'm going to be able to read the contents of your mod file, and the password will be right there. The next problem you've got, all right, yeah, if that happens, you can go, because some people do things like they'll put their domain administrator account in their mod file in order to do stuff. That's a nice one. There's the issue of trust, which is I'm going to give you a mod file. How do you know who gave you the mod file? Do you trust the contents of that mod file? I can create a mod file and put it on the pool server and say, set local administrator password to password 123. You're going to pull it, set it. I now have admin access to your machine. I could do exactly the same thing in your domain environment and take control of your entire domain by just editing one text file. So imagine doing something like this. I can say copy item hacked mov to pool server configs critical mov, and I now have control of your Active Directory environment or any environment that I want to get access to. The same or similar scenario is I can copy a hacked module. I can place the module on the pool server. Your config is perhaps secured, you've encrypted your credentials, it's all good, but you don't validate the contents of the modules. You download my malware module, and then I can do whatever I want. I've got access to your credentials, I can send them off to a REST API or do anything in there, format C, and then your system's dead. So yeah, you've got issue of trust. You need to know who is sending you the configs and the modules as well. Third issue surrounds management. So we've talked about you've got your configuration files, you should encrypt your credentials, but if you're delegating, you've got Jeff, the help desk guy, he's there, and you're telling him, okay, you can go on there and check what's the status of a configuration, or perhaps he can start a configuration to just make sure it's correctly set. But out of the box, you have to give someone local admin rights to do this. And there's no other way around it. And then, yeah, that person's then got full admin rights to the machine. And I mean, theoretically, if they've got DSC, they can do what they want anyway. But yeah, you've got the issue of there's no, by default, there's no separation. There's no built-in user group to do this. So yeah, I say, who are my groups? I'm administrator, and I can just say start DSC configuration, hack.mov, and that's it. It doesn't matter if you had a pool server configuration doing something else. I could add a -force on the end of that command and then completely overwrite your LCM, and again, I've got access to your system. So those are the three topics I'm going to try and address today. I've got not a lot of time, so hopefully I can address these 3 points in this short session today. So let's jump into the demo. So hopefully you guys can read this. If I just start writing my first bit of configuration here. Can everyone read that? The back? We good? Woo! So very simple configuration. I'm going to pass a credential, and I just want to start the spooler service under this credential. I've got some config data here. Ignore the commented out part for now. I'm just going to create it on file server 01. And if I run this configuration, or if I compile this configuration, sorry, run. Please run. Oh, there you go. So here I'm just going to say Ryan, super secure password. And there you go. So now if I look in this directory, I should have a test folder. In here I should have my mod file. Oh no, because I am a fool and I didn't specify configuration data. Config data. So perhaps just quickly, is anyone not familiar with DSC? Does that syntax look strange to anybody? Everyone here knows DSC. It's a couple of people. So maybe I'll quickly, just very briefly go over DSC, just what it is, what it does, and what the syntax looks like. So DSC is desired state configuration. It's there to guarantee that the configuration is the way you want it to. I mean, theoretically, you could set it so it just only monitors, but the idea is that you say, okay, I want my system to look like this, and DSC make it so. So I've defined here my configuration block. I've just called it test, and then I've got my node here. So this file server 01 or whatever, and I'm calling into a resource, the resource of type service. I've just called it spooler. That's just a name. And then here is where I define what I actually want it to do. So I want the service called spooler to be running, start type automatic, and run under this credential. So that's obviously very quick. But that's how you can start writing yourself a configuration. Then I've got my configuration data here. That's what I was referring to in the configuration block, passing in file 01. So now compile test configuration with using this configuration data. That's what I missed out last time. Just run this. Why does F8 not work on my machine anymore? Oh, there you go. What did I do? See, this is exactly what I wanted to show. So, because I've tried to pass a credential through here, and DSC is saying, well, you know, it's not a good idea for you to be saving your credentials in your mod file without encrypting them. So you should consider encrypting them with a certificate. So what you see a lot of people doing, because certificates are complicated, PKI is annoying, you know, I don't want to handle that jazz. So you can specify something here called PSDSC allow plain text passwords. And if I rerun this, DSC allow plain text passwords. Rerun this again. Still fails because I made a mistake. What mistake? Oh yeah, could be. One or the other. Exactly, so here we go, I have a mod file now. And I created a test file again, so now so here you can see, and there's my credential in plain text. I made it extra secure by changing the year. So no one's going to crack that. Yeah, so that's what we want to really try and avoid. So the way you do this is by specifying, taking that out, and you specify a certificate that will be used to encrypt the data. So this is the public key that I, as the author of the configuration, will use to encrypt the data in the mod file. And this thumbprint is for the LCM to know which certificate private key should I use to decrypt the data after the fact. So what I'm going to have to do is I have to jump onto my little test environment here where I have everything running. And what I've done in the background is I've got a DC here which is also running PKI. I have I've created an encryption certificate with auto-enroll, so that's deployed to all my machines. And from file 01, I just copied the certificate to this build machine, which I've just called DSC01. In production, you would probably have a system that either DSC could copy this file for you to a repository. I mean, the public key is not sensitive. You can do whatever you like with it, or you could have an API that receives this information. So here I'm just going to log in with my privileged account. And that always does that, it's annoying. And here, jump into PowerShell. And I can now just execute this type in my credentials again. And this time it gets created. I didn't get the error saying that I wasn't using plain text passwords. And if I look in the MOV file, you'll see here the password is completely encrypted. I still know the username, so it's like half of my credentials, but the password is encrypted. So first problem solved. I don't have any of my passwords publicly visible to any of my users anymore, so that's good news. So moving on to the second point which I had, which was about trust. So we said, what happens if the public key, as we said, is available to everybody. Everyone I've just placed on a file share someone, I can get it. Maybe I create a configuration and I encrypt the data as a hacker, and I place it on the pool server. I create my checksum, and my client file 01 is going to download it anyway. So this is where we come into the point of trust. So what I need to do for that is, on my machine that compiles my MOPs, I need to have a code signing certificate. And the code signing certificate will encrypt my MOV file. And on my LCM, I need to specify that the LCM must require this trust verification first. So if we jump down a little further in my script, I can call into another one of my PowerShell 2. This is my LCM config here for file 01. It's a bit of decoration here. This is just to tell it's a local configuration manager config, not a DSC configuration config. So yeah, just told it it's in pull mode. It's going to pull from this server. And this is where I've specified that it needs to be checking for validation of the configurations. And not only of the configurations, but of the modules as well. So as soon as that LCM is put on there, I can try and update my configuration, and it will say, sorry, configuration validation failed, will not pull config. The second parameter we've got here, just so we're clear, is the path that is used in the certificate store to define where the LCM is going to look for the trusted certificate. I mean, obviously, if I'm just in a normal PK environment, anyone could request this code signing certificate and sign a config, and then I've got that certificate, the root certificate in my trusted roots. It's all good. So, but that's not what we want. So what we have here is a specific path where I can say, okay, only certificates in this path will be trusted. So if I take that over to my file 01 machine and do a bit of DDS if this is something I did prepared earlier. Log on with my privileged account. Just thinking, can I make this a bit bigger for you guys so you can see it? You guys can read that still, or is that still a bit small? If not, there's not a lot I can do about it, I think. No, it doesn't change the... Sorry. So I can demo it after to anyone who wants a bit more information. Actually, there's something I forgot to mention. All these topics I'm talking about now I blogged about them back in February. Back in February, I actually did a 28 days of DSC blog post every day. Around about day 7 or 8 is where this topic of encryption comes in. And then a little further on, that day, I think day 14, I tried to put them on the weekends, were the ones for code signing and stuff. So I'm going to set my LCM configuration. I've just pulled it onto my machine already. So, set DSC local configuration manager. And I'm just going to pull it from the test folder. Hello. 10, not test, sorry. Set DSC local configuration manager /temp. Okay, setting the LCM, and now if I go and read out the LCM, the state of the LCM now, you'll see here I've got signature validations turned on, meaning that I can't pull any configurations that aren't signed. So if I was to do something like update DSC configuration now, it's going to come back and say resource not found because I've not put a MOV file there yet. So let's quickly just put our MOV file on there. So we've got this one here, tests in there, right? Yep, so we say copy item file to see program files, it's PowerShell, DSC configuration. Yep. If I jump to that directory now. Wow, why did you not copy paste? Okay, so now I've got my MOV file in here. Now I can say new -dsg checksum file, create my checksum. And everything should be good. My file's encrypted. I've got a checksum there. Go back to my file server, do a pull. And still it doesn't work. And this is because, like I said, we are checking for validation of the MOV files. And I currently don't trust this certificate that was used to sign the data. Actually, it wasn't even signed. I haven't done the signing part yet. So it's also I don't trust it, and it's not been signed yet. So let's show you how we can sign that configuration. So we've got our file here, like I said, this file01.mov. If you want to sign a configuration, you need to get hold of your certificate. So I can just go into my certificate store, got it under my current user here. Microsoft provides a little switchies and say code signing certs, and it pulls out just your code signing certs. If I look here, there's my cert. And I can say set authentication code signature against, punch my certificate file in there. I'm pretty sure it's like a file path or something. Yep, file path /file MOV. Now my MOV is signed, but the hash has changed for the files. I need to generate a new checksum. So I'm going to go in, create a new checksum. Oop. File 01. And because one already exists, I just need to use the for switch, so it overwrites it. And if I go back to my machine, go back to my file 01 machine, try and run it again, it will still fail, because although the file is, now the file has been signed, it's not, the certificate's not in my trusted store. So let's quickly demonstrate how to do that part. Just so we're clear, I've got to put my certificate that was used to sign the config in this path here. So I'm going to jump to this path, local machine. No, I'm not, because I didn't put CD. And I can create a new item, DSC store. Spelled it right? Yes, I did. And now I can say import certificate ./temp. No, not ./temp. C ./temp. Then I think it's called like DSC code signing, so that's right. And I'm going to put it in the cert /local machine DSC store. So that's been imported now. If I don't have to jump back, but I will. Clear up the screen a little bit. Run my update DSC configuration this time. And it's complaining because local machine is not configured. I didn't configure my LCM with a certificate. That's my bad. That's under here in the settings. So, but what that was, so just word of warning. I got asked yesterday to do this session, and obviously then we was doing sessions, and we went to the zoo last night. So I come home about 12 o'clock, and then was up until about 3:30 preparing this session. So there's potential for some issues like this. So certificate ID. It's just the thumbprint, so I will just jump back to my file server, get out my certificate. Yes, for encryption, that's that one. It would be this one. No, this one. Cool. So, wow. Jump to the file server. I'm gonna generate the LCM. What did I make? What did I do wrong? False. Yes. This is another. This is completely DSC unrelated. But if anyone's working with VS Code user snippets and you want to include a dollar in your output, you need to use $. You can't even use a backslash. You have to say $. Just if you ever in that situation. That's why that happened. Everyone's talking about, I was in a couple of sessions today about types and stuff, and everyone was going about how intelligent PowerShell is at doing type conversion and stuff. Why, I wrote the word false. Why doesn't PowerShell know that I meant false, $false, Paste, copy, paste, I can do DSC, but I can't do copy paste, Okay, so enable DSC configuration set, DSC local configuration manager, /. Still made a mistake. What did I do wrong there? There's a space. Just give me a break, Don't talk to me about script analyzer now. And I'm doing this very poorly, as you can see. I shouldn't be creating these subfolders, but okay. This time, now we're good. So now if I see /, now if I run update DSC, and I've prayed, now it pulls the configurations as set it. So now we're in a state, like I said, we've got our credentials secured, the config is signed, so I trust that the person who generated it was good. I feel like I'm going to run out of time. I want to talk about the GEA topic after this. So just if you want to sign your mod files, sorry, not mod files, we just talked about modules. It's on my blog, but basically the process is if you look in the where your DSC server resides. Well, it's not on my file server, it's my pool server, so that would... Here you've got all your zip files, so it's basically just name of module and then module version in a zip file. What you need to do to sign that is before you zip it, you create a file catalog, new-file catalog, and that basically creates a hash of all the files in the directory. And then you sign the file catalog, and then when you zip it together, that will lead you to have a signed module. So, sorry, I haven't got time to demonstrate that. So, going to the next topic, which is about Jeff, our lovely help desk guy. He's a nice guy, doesn't know what he's doing. He wants to have access to monitor DSC. So, what I want to do is I want to restrict him access via just from normal PowerShell. So just pull up my configuration here. Helps if I set type to PowerShell. Drop down here to W permission. So this is a DSC reference to. Actually, I can put that in my other configuration. Saves me the having to double my work. Chuck it in here. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to create, or it's going to set permissions on the VMI namespace so that anyone who's in this group will have access to enable themselves and execute methods. So if anyone doesn't know how DSC works in the background, it's based on SIM. So every command that you do, say you run start DSC configuration or get DSC local configuration manager, basically you're executing a SIM method in this namespace. So by delegating rights just to this namespace, I can specify that one user or a group of users can run DSC commands and they don't have to be local administrators. So let's just flush this config out a bit more. Now this is me being really lazy. I could just have typed that in, but you know, if I can, why not? I'll drop that in there. So now when I run my configuration, I'm going to say dash. I'll actually run that again so I get my IntelliSense. Ooh, something threw in the error log. It's complaining because I don't have that module on my machine. Trust me, it'll work. Trust me, I'm a PowerShell though. So I'm just going to say here, group, and I already pre-create this group. So just going to call it DSC managers, and the credential. I'm just going to say. Okay, so now if I run this on my DSC build box, if copy paste works, which it's not. Copy. Paste. Okay, so now I've got a new mod file which has got that configuration in there. So if I quickly copy that mod file to copy item /test. I'm creating a lot of rubbish folders everywhere on my machine right now. Configuration. Okay. I would have to. I just realized I've got a lot of things I need to do, like signing and stuff, and I'm running out of time, so I don't want to do that. Basically, what's going to happen is what I'm going to do is grab this, copy it to my actual box directly, and then run it locally. File I1. Okay, my file is there. Okay, so I'm going to do another quick trick because like I said, I've not got time to sign the modules. I just realized that. I've completely forgot about that. So sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the module that was on the pool server. I'm just going to extract it locally on the machine so I don't have to go through that process of signing the file catalog. Actually, I've got it locally on my machine, I think, in my... I don't have time. I'm running out of time. And now my PowerShell's freaking out. So maybe what I'll have to do is if someone's interested, I can show them that after the fact. So, but trust me, it works. It works on my computer. If you delegate the WI namespace, you can run commands as that user without having to give them administrator rights. And then coming to the last point that I wanted to introduce was, so you've delegated them rights to the WMI namespace, but it's giving them still a bit too much because you can't specify which methods they can execute. Basically, they can execute start, they can execute stop, and set LCM manager, etc., etc., etc. So what I'm going to do is create a GIA session, this one, which is called DSC management, and it's delegated to my DSC manager users, and it basically defines that they can use the DSC manager's role. And the DSC manager role basically allows them to do the following. They can program as Windows, PowerShell, modules, This is the last thing I want to show you guys. Here in my role definition, I basically defined that he can run get DSC configuration status, local configuration manager, get resource, enable, and disable. Also, in the commandlets, I gave that role the right to use start DSC configuration, but only when they're using the existing configuration. They can't then pass in a path and pass in their own mod file. So if I've done that, I've pretty well been able to lock down my LCM. I can delegate whoever I want to access that role, and yeah, we've got a good scenario here locked down. So come back to the presentation. Just basically in summary, do not trust the pool server. It doesn't matter if it's your pool server, if it's a pool server as a service. Do not trust the pool server. Only trust those configs that you've created yourself, and make sure that they're signed so that you can verify that they are what they say they are. Encrypt the credentials so that you don't have your domain admin password lying around. Don't trust Jeff, the new guy, because that guy's going to leave in a week probably. Lock down access to your LCM so that they can they can only run the commands you want them to do. And last point, don't forget to automate it. So, yeah, next session.